To make these earrings, you'll need 2 earring wires and 2 head pins. These are the eyepin type, which means they've got a loop at the end. You'll also need 2 leaf charms, and the leaf charms we have are about 18 millimeters long, and they came with jump rings. And then for beads, we've got 2 pearls, 2 wooden beads, and 2 turquoise beads, and these are all about 6 millimeters. For tools, we've got round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and wire cutters. To make the first earring, we're going to start with the eye pin, and we're going to feed on our beads. And so we're going to feed on the pearl first, and then the wooden bead, and our turquoise bead. You'll want to check and make sure when you pick out your beads that they fit over your head pin or eye pin, because the eye pin wire is a little bit thicker, and pearls especially have very fine holes. So we had to try a couple different pearls to get ones that fit onto this eye pin. Now what we want to do is make a loop in this end of the eye pin that matches the eye at this end. So that's just a simple loop. And to do that, we're going to use the round nose pliers, and we're going to start by bending a 90-degree bend in that wire. And then I'm going to move to the top of that 90-degree bend. I want to find a place on the round nose pliers that's about the same size as this loop. So actually I can test it. I put the round nose pliers in that loop and see how far up it goes. You can use a Sharpie if you want to mark that, but I'm just going to eyeball it. That's about where I want to make the loop on the other end. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to position my pliers at the top of that bend, about the same spot where it was. And then I'm going to pull that wire all the way up and over the round nose pliers, the top jaw. And then I'm going to reposition into the bottom jaw, and I'm going to finish pulling that loop around so that I have a complete loop there. Now what I want to do is trim that wire so that it looks like the other side. And to do that, I've got my wire cutters. I'm going to use the flat side or the flush side towards my work, and I'm going to trim it. I'm just going to cut it so that it's just making a complete loop like that. And now I can use my chain nose pliers to kind of wiggle that end into position. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit so that it's just making a complete loop there. So my bottom one turned out a little bit bigger than the top one, but that's okay because that's at the bottom of the earrings anyway. And now what we want to do is put the earring wire at the top and the leaf at the bottom. So to put the leaf at the bottom, our leaf came with a jump ring, and we like that jump ring because it adds a little extra movement to the earring. And to open a jump ring, we like to use one pair of pliers on one side of the split. There's a little cut in the jump ring there, I can see it. I'm going to hold one side with my chain nose pliers, and then I'm going to hold the other side with my round nose pliers, and I'm going to push one plier towards the table and one towards the ceiling. Kind of rotate that open. See how that's rotated open? It stays a circle that way, but it has a little opening that we can slide through. So I'm going to slide the larger circle of my eye pin, the one I just made, into that jump ring. And then I'm going to close the jump ring the same way, but in reverse. I'm going to grab one side and push it towards the table, and while I'm lifting the other side up. So you can see that's closed. And then just to make sure I've got it good and closed there, I can kind of press it together a little bit. But that keeps that nice round shape. So now our dangle is on there, and we think it's so pretty to have this color of the patina picked up into the earring with this turquoise color bead. So now to put on the earring wire, we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to slide open the loop on the earring wire. So to do that, I'm pulling one side up. You can use pliers for this, but you can also just use your hands on one side. Pull one side up while you're sliding the other side towards the table. So that keeps that nice round shape, but there's a little bit of an opening there. And then I can slide this earring on there. Check, is that the front? Is there a front or a back to the earring? I think it's kind of a back to that. I'm going to flip it over. There, I like how that looks. And then I'm going to close it the same way we opened it, but in reverse, pulling that up. And there's one of our earrings. Isn't that gorgeous? So we'll do that again. We're going to take our head pin, and we're going to feed on the pearl first, and then the wood bead is in the middle, And then we're going to put our turquoise bead last. And now we're going to make that loop just like we did before. And to start, we're going to do a 90-degree bend. I'm making that bend at the very tippy tip of the round nose pliers because I don't want to introduce a bunch of space in here. If I held it this way and made a 90-degree bend, I'd have this big empty space of wire. So I'm pushing those together, and then I'm going to pull that wire up 90 degrees and then reposition to the top of that, and then bend that wire over, reposition the bottom jaw into that loop, and pull it around. So there's our loop, and then I'm going to cut it like we did before with the wire cutters. Reach in there, don't cut your project, just the wire. I'm going to hold on to that tail so it doesn't go flying. And then I'm just going to close that up a little bit more with my chain nose pliers. There it is. So there's our middle component. And then we want to add our leaf. I'm going to open that jump ring just like we did before. I've got one pair of pliers on one side, one pair on the other. If you do this a lot, you'll get used to it. You'll just do it automatically. But rotate, and then I'm putting the leaf on the same end as the turquoise bead. Oops. Slide that in there. And then close it by doing the opposite motion. And then double check that it's closed. Always a good idea. Press that together a little bit. Press it across a little bit. That looks great. And then we're going to add the earring wire the same way we did before. I'm going to use the pliers to rotate one side up and one side down. A little bit of an opening there, and then slide on that earring. I'm going to check again for the front versus the back. I think this is the front. And then I'm going to use the pliers, rotate that back. And that is a very easy but gorgeous pair of earrings. They would be great for a gift.